Welcome to the I Create Daily podcast. I'm Leora Alderson.
And I'm Devani Alderson. We are your co-hosts on this journey of creativity and productivity.
I Create Daily is for artists in every genre of creating, from musicians to writers, crafters to inventors, bloggers to entrepreneurs. I Create Daily is a movement for creators serious about your art.
If you're into creating anything, this podcast is definitely for you. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey.
Welcome to the I Create Daily podcast, a movement for creators serious about their art. I'm Leora.
And I'm Devani. And today we're joined by Alex Stead, who's a professional wedding photographer in Canada. Alex photographs the world with a sense of joy. Her images full of bright colors and lots of emotions. She lights up inside when she's able to capture photos that she knows will become treasured memories. What an awesome way to view your work.
An awesome way to view your work, and also fantastic photos on her site. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm happy to be here.
Great. So you started out, tell us how you got started as a professional photographer.
So I actually got started, I was about 14 or 15, so about 10 years ago now. I became really, really obsessed with photography in a way that didn't seem normal at the time for a young teenager. I just super nerded out. I wanted, to learn everything I could about editing and taking pictures. And so I just got really, really obsessed with photography. And about 3 years later, I decided that I could probably make money off of it. I was a really big fan of Tim Ferriss at the time, and I was reading The 4-Hour Workweek. I said, hey, I could probably make money with this. It's a cool hobby. I know I've probably got enough skill to do it as a career. Let's see where it goes. My initial plan was to just work 5 to 10 hours a week at it as a side job while I was going to university. Eventually I ended up leaving university, and now it's a full-time job for 2 people. So
Wow, fantastic. Yeah. So when you say leaving university, did you end early? Did you not, or did you go ahead and graduate?
I took a leave of absence for a couple of years. I'm actually heading back in January and scaling back a little bit just so I can finish my degree. At the time, I really wanted to grow my business and just see where I could take it. So I decided to just kind of press pause on the university scene for a little while.
Absolutely. We're all for that. What do you want your degree to be in?
It's business and English.
Business and English. Okay. So definitely the business will help you in your photography business, but as we get into it, we'll learn more, because so often people who get into a profession discover that, you really have to evaluate whether you need to spend the extra money and take the extra time to go back to university versus continuing and pursuing your career, right? Had you considered?
Absolutely. That's something that I've struggled with a lot over the years, deciding, whether I should go back, whether I shouldn't, and my mind seems to change on it a lot. At this time in my life, it's not really very useful, but I keep going back to the idea that I love the idea of being just a highly educated woman, really. And I know it's more of a matter of pride than a matter of usefulness, I think. I know right now, this time in my life, I don't have a family, I don't have children. If I want to pursue my education, now is the right time to do it. I've got this great window in my 20s to do that. So it's more taking care of future me than really, needing it right now, I think. But I definitely still struggle with it. And I'm interested to see, when I'm in my 30s and 40s, looking back, and was that a good decision or not to finish it?
Well, it's hard, when you're in your 30s and 40s, while this may seem the opportune time, you can always go back. And, our podcast isn't on that subject, but it's one of the things I'm passionate about, because I see and I hear from so many of the mentors that we follow where they say, if you are succeeding at earning a living in your business, and unless you want to work for somebody else, if you definitely want to become an employee working for somebody else, then you go for the degree. If you want to pursue your entrepreneurship and grow in that, then self-education, you can become a highly educated woman through self-education selectively.
Absolutely. Oh, I 100% agree with that too. And the self-education I've done so far has been way more useful than the degree has ever.
There you go. There you go. Well, something to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
So in your business, you're a professional wedding photographer. What types of things, are you just solely focused on weddings? Do you do any other type of photography, or did you just decide this is my focus and this is how I'm going to pursue my photography career? How did that come about? How did you niche down to that?
So when I first started out, I shot just about everything that came my way, right? I was doing families, I was doing newborns, I was doing maternity, I was doing wedding, I was doing like commercial work. Really like anything that I could get hired for with my skill, I was, just trying out everything. After a while, I realized that I really liked the wedding work the most. It's really fun. The hours are good, honestly. Like you're working weekends, but you're not really working, with other people on the weekdays. You get like that time to yourself to work from home, which is really nice I'm kind of an introverted person, so I like having that time to myself every week. I still do some commercial work as well. I just don't talk about it a whole lot, so I get hired more through word of mouth.
Cool.
Yeah, I just really like weddings, and I like the opportunities I'm able to get through it. So
when you say commercial work, would that be like a brand or product photography?
Yeah, so there's a lot to it. So commercial work is a fun kind of side project for me. I don't do a ton of it, but sometimes like magazines will hire me to do like a small piece. So have you guys ever heard of like Maclean's magazine? You guys have that?
No.
Okay, a Canadian magazine. They hired me a few months ago to follow a reporter around for a day and photograph people who's interviewing. That was a really interesting day. Just a great, day out exploring. So that kind of stuff happens. Or like Reader's Digest called me up a little while ago and they needed a portrait taken in Newfoundland. So I just took the portrait.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is nice as a filler. I would say I'm probably 75% weddings and 25% just like other stuff.
Other things. So, I mean, speaking of Newfoundland, because that is the part of Canada you're in, which is incredibly picturesque, so you have lots of opportunity to take like landscape, photogenic kind of things, picturesque kind of scenes, and sell them as portraits, framed portraits, as cards or whatever, gift shops, because tourism is a thing there. Is that something you've explored?
Not particularly. I do, I paint as well. And so I've sold my paintings in stores and stuff, just kind of simple Newfoundland scenery and stuff.
Awesome.
I have some landscape work that I have available, but I don't necessarily pursue that a whole lot right now.
Okay. It's nice to, kind of like the education concept, it's nice to have other options and horizons and possibilities, especially like if at some point you get tired of the weddings. I would think that a benefit of the weddings is you get to enjoy some good food as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, I keep like a list of just other possible options. So if there comes a time where this isn't what I want to do, I've got like probably 30 or 40 different options now. That if I wanted to pour my time and effort into something else, I've got a long list of things that are options.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, and that's a good point, because options, sometimes too many options are to our detriment, to the detriment of artists and creatives, because we are idea people and have so many ideas and possibilities and opportunities. So there's a lot to be said for really niching down, focusing, and becoming well known for one category, as you're doing, with the weddings, and you become automatically the go-to person. Your name becomes synonymous with wedding photography in your area. So yeah, that's I think that would be definitely to your advantage.
Yeah, and I love the idea of thinking big, and I can say I have a lot of ideas that I could pursue, but of course it takes time and effort that you take away from your current business. So every now and then I'll kind of cling to an idea, and I'll take 2 or 3 months and flesh it out and make a plan for it, see if it works. Sometimes they take off and it becomes a successful kind of side project. But it's always a balancing act, right? It's hard to have too many side projects because then you have no focus.
Yeah,
so I try to limit myself to 2 to 3 things at a time that I'm focusing on. Always my business is number one, the weddings, and I've always got something happening in the background.
Fantastic. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, in the since it's I create daily, what do you do every day? What is some of the structure that you use in your business to sort of keep the business running, and also for your own creativity? I know you mentioned you have those various side projects that can keep it fun and interesting, but what do you do on a daily basis that helps you kind of just stay prolific in your own business?
Or learning something new?
That's a great question. I'm all about the self-advancement. So whenever I can, I'm always trying to, take in programs or mentorships, classes, whether they're directly related to photography or business or not. Like a couple semesters ago, I did a dance class, and that was honestly one of the best creative endeavors I could have done. Like it made so many just new opportunities, I guess, in my brain. Like I was thinking a lot more about different ways that I could pose people and move people, you know, just by myself. So it doesn't necessarily need to be directly related to, you know, photography or business, but I try to do that. I'm always trying something new. Every day I write something every day, whether it's poetry or just journals or short stories, or I'm working on films sometimes.
Wow.
It's never a planned set time, but every day there's at least a half-hour period where I'm writing.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, and every day I edit, which is more just, you know, out of necessity. You have to edit your photos. But I find it very relaxing and very invigorating. It's one of my favorite processes. It's very meditative, I find. And it's just kind of a precise skill, I guess, where you're just kind of toggling buttons, making sure the colors look right, clarity is right, you know, there's no stray hairs. But I find my editing time to be very, like, relaxing and meditative, and just a nice daily practice that I look forward to, honestly.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. It's wonderful how disciplined you are, so young, how focused on constantly creating. It's very inspiring. But are there times that that you don't? I mean, I think that where you are with it is that you recognize that to create daily does renew you, inspire you, and motivate you and uplift you. But do you have down days where you don't feel like doing anything?
Oh, absolutely.
And do you go with that, or do you push through anyway? What's your approach to that in general?
I heard a quote recently, and it said, "Inspiration is for amateurs. Professionals go to work."
Yeah, you heard that recently. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that. So my more creative projects, I usually do when I'm inspired or when I'm kind of in a mood for it. So when it comes to painting, I might go 6 or 8 months without painting anything, but then I'll go 3 weeks where I'll paint 20 things in a row.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just be on fire for it. But there are certain things you just have to do every day, and you have to stay disciplined to it. So it's finding a mixture of both, right? So knowing when to let go for your own mental health, right? If you need downtime more than you need, you know, putting pressure on yourself time. Yeah, it's definitely a fine line that I still struggle with is, you know, being ambitious, being a sloth, right? Needing a long time, really needing downtime to just rest and read, you know, hang out in the hammock. But then also, you know, getting to work, making sure I'm focused on my goals. So I set goals for myself, like monthly, you know, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Where do I want to be? How am I going to get there? And I'm not super hard on myself when I don't meet them perfectly, as long as I'm working in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. Yeah, because I think a lot of creatives, they struggle with where they are now versus where they want to be, and then create their own intense pressure around, I'm not there yet, and that's terrible that I'm not there yet, because we also have that perfectionist gene inside of us. It's like, it needs to be perfect, it needs to be there, I need to be a year ahead right now. and so being able to just set those like incremental stages where you can say, okay, a month from now, I'm not going to be 12 months ahead a month from now, and I might even need to take a step back, but I'm in that general direction and I know what's happening, and so I can move forward.
Yeah, so many people, there are many artists in our audience. Some of them are where you are and they're earning a living with their art or their craft. And some of them are still working a job wondering if it's possible. So you're then, I presume, able to make a full-time living as a professional photographer, right? So what would you advise someone who hasn't yet taken the leap from the job into freelancing, working for themselves, earning enough as a professional photographer, for instance, to make a go of it?
I think it's twofold. I think you need to really critically analyze your own work and think, you know, can I actually make money off this? Am I good enough? You know, I think a lot of people start too early. I was one of the people who started probably too early. So looking at your own work and critically analyzing it, knowing that you're putting out work that is worth money, I guess, really.
Yeah.
Second thing is knowing business a little bit. You don't need to have, I don't think, a degree, but you need to know some basic marketing, some basic accounting. You need a little bit of every hat. If you're going to start your own business and work for yourself and make your own money, you need to know how to do the basics in just about every aspect of running a business for the first couple of years, usually. So you'll get to a point where you can hire those things out. But in the beginning, it's good to know where you are, especially with marketing, I think. That's probably one of the biggest skills you need with your running a business that promotes your art.
Yeah, the marketing aspect. So what is your number one marketing avenue that gives you the most business?
I would say definitely social media. We're pretty big on like Facebook and Instagram, constantly promoting, really utilizing Facebook ads has been big. And also using Google and SEO. So we still get a ton of clients through Google who just find our website searching for Newfoundland wedding photographers.
Yeah, definitely.
And if we hadn't learned early on how to set that up and utilize to our advantage, we'd be missing out on so many inquiries.
Right.
People don't exist.
Right.
You have the best book in the world, but if no one knows you're out there, you're not going to make money. You're not going to book any clients.
Absolutely. So do you guys run ads on an ongoing basis, or do you focus your Facebook ads, for instance, during the primary wedding seasons?
Yeah, we push more during the high booking seasons, we'll say, which we just learned through our analytics, what those are throughout the year. So for us, like around Christmas, around August, it kind of fluctuates. So we push more when we know there's a higher rate of booking, but we have ads going almost constantly at some level. Fantastic.
And so are you guys tracking the return on investment, the ROI of those Facebook ads?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been so far pretty good compared to other ways of marketing. For example, we did a big wedding trade show last year that cost us well over $2,000 when all was said and told. By the time you bought products and you rented your booth. And we didn't book a single wedding from it.
Wow. And it was a lot of your time, a lot of energy.
A lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of planning and prep involved in it. Whereas for $2,000 on Facebook ad spend, you're guaranteed, 20 to 50 inquiries. Yeah, and out of those, you're going to book I would say at least 2 to 5 weddings. So your return on your investment is much higher.
Yes, definitely.
So the numbers are usually a lot higher. That's like lowest possible scenario kind of
right
thing. So,
right. Well, that makes sense. Do you target your local area, or I would imagine people from your region, maybe even beyond, travel to your area to get married because it's so photogenic? Is that true?
Yeah, it's definitely a destination. So with Facebook, I target mostly kind of the local area, as well as areas where I know most of our tourists come from.
Yeah.
So there are certain kind of pockets of places where Newfoundland is more popular.
Yes.
So I'll target those areas. But also Google is really good because you get people searching Newfoundland wedding photographers. So I find that's really good, people coming to Newfoundland as a tourist to get married. Yeah, it's a surprisingly high destination wedding location.
Very interesting. Good. That makes sense.
People get married like the national parks usually here if they're coming from away. Those are great weddings. Usually really intimate, 10 to 20 people. You're hiking a cliff. You're going down waterfalls.
Nice.
Really
very nice.
So do you do the photography for the whole wedding? For the whole wedding itself? Because on your website, I see a lot of photos of like engagement photos or post-wedding photos, or just the bride and groom. So do you do the whole ceremony too?
Yeah. So we photograph the whole day from usually getting ready to the first few dances. We definitely have a higher percentage of bride and groom photos on our website. They tend to do best when people are kind of looking at the photos. That's what they want to see. But yeah, we generally photograph the whole day.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're there for between 6 to 12 hours usually, depending on how long the day goes. Some people have shorter days, and some have longer, bigger events. So.
And do you have sometimes the bride and groom to be come out and get photographs before the day? I've seen, we were at a conference in Las Vegas, and it seemed like that was the big thing. People were coming through all day long just to get their pre-wedding, to get their wedding photos, so they wouldn't have to do it on the wedding day.
Interesting. No, that's not really a trend here.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, just because you have to get all dressed up and yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't know what the deal was, but anyway, well, maybe they were having their wedding later in the day because, but we saw a lot of them that were just coming to special scenes and settings. So, well, what you mentioned, that you started when you were 15, and how long have you been supporting yourself as a professional photographer?
About 8 years now. It's been
wow.
My sole income. So, yeah.
So when you were from about 18 then, 17.
Yeah, as soon as I kind of moved to my parents' house, this was it. I didn't have any other job after that.
Fantastic. Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you were clearly so focused so young and already like thinking about how to improve yourself, how to keep learning. You want to be an educated woman. So what or who has inspired you in your life to be so focused and driven in a positive way so far in your life?
Oh, that's such a good question. I had a lot of strong women in my life. Both my grandparents and my mother were all just very, very driven people. I'm so proud of my mom. She recently started going back to university as well, and we're doing the same degree, and we're kind of in like a race to who's going to finish first. But she's awesome, and she always really, really pushed me. My parents both really pushed me to be my own person and to kind of pursue what I wanted to in life, which has been fantastic. But also in a way that was kind of like, you know what, like, we're here as a safety net if you need us, but we'd rather not. Like, you know, learn how to be self-sustaining as a person, as an adult, which I really appreciated. This inspired me. Goodness.
Yeah, and set you apart, because I'm sure you have friends who would rather hang out than attend an online seminar or take a course and develop themselves, right? We all do. So it's like, how do you stay driven toward progressing and ascending in your career path and development?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, sorry. So we all, you know, the quote from Jim Rohn about you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And
right.
Many people in the online world find that the people that most inspire them to aspire and elevate them may or may not be in their immediate environment, you know, may not be in their immediate friend network. You know, as we make friendships all over the world now, we find, you know, people that we resonate with and who inspire us to do and be more. So it's like, you know, if you, in your pursuit, you know, it's like, were there any people in your immediate environment, any friends, you know, because that's kind of an unusual thing that you stayed so focused in that way on your own. So were you doing that just by yourself? Were there any friends in your immediate group that helped pull you forward as well?
Sure. There's one friend in particular who we're definitely not in the same career path, but we're both working artists. And we both started as photographers together around the age of 14, 15. And we're still really good friends to this day, and we really pushed each other right from that very first beginning, which has been really nice. It's been awesome to kind of, you know, have this relationship that's grown and changed over the years. It's a lot of back and forth of, I'm doing this, what are you doing? You know, do you want to work on this project with me? Do you want to just write together? You know, like sometimes we'll just create Google Docs and we'll just flesh out a story and as we're going, which is really cool.
Nice.
That's been a huge influence for sure. And I really appreciate his friendship and being able to grow together into, I guess, who we are now and to whoever we're going to be in the future. Because you're always becoming, right? Like you don't become.
Right.
So who I am now is probably not who I'm going to be in 25 years or 50 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to have people around you who are pushing you for sure. That one friendship in particular has definitely been, I guess, the most vital.
Yeah.
Growing as a person, yeah.
That makes sense. So one of the things I was thinking about a few minutes ago, as you were talking about the wedding season, and we were talking about Facebook ads and wedding season, you have a shorter season there, you know, for outdoor photography, because it's pretty cold up there, right?
We do, yeah. Our season is pretty short, and we jam-pack it in. So it becomes kind of a crazy way to live your life a little bit. So from June to about October is our season. And so it's not very, you know, it's about 4 months of the year where we have good weather. We have a lot of tourists in that time. Everybody wants their photos. Then I literally don't have a single session on the books for November.
Right.
So I'm going from, I've got 10 weddings in October and about 15 engagement couple shoots and commercial shoots. You know, out of the 31 days, I've got something on the go on probably like 28 of them.
Right.
This month. So it's just a really, really busy time. But then, like I said, like in the next month, there's 0.
Right.
So it very abruptly stops. And then I will barely see anybody until next June when it comes to photographing people. I might do a handful of indoor photo shoots or a couple of winter weddings, but they're kind of rare. So it's definitely a weird little life that you live where you're really, really crazy busy for 4 or 5 months of the year. I barely see my friends during this period.
Right.
You're just working really, really hard and just really hustling, but with the knowledge that you're going to have 6 or 7 months to really just relax and pursue side projects and kind of do your own thing after that's done.
So what do you do during the off season? Does the 4 months that you have booking sustain your off season? Like what are you doing in the meantime? Do you pursue any of your side projects in terms of monetizing them, or how does that work?
So I do something a little bit different every year. Every year I kind of take a side project and I focus on it and I just go all in. So this year it's going back to university, right? So this winter my big plan is just to go to university and just be a student again for, 4 months from January to April. That's my big winter project this year.
Okay.
Last year I went to Europe for 2 months and worked over there for a little bit and just kind of pursued art and took a lot of pictures and explored a lot. Year before I did a big course and I painted and I started monetizing my paintings. So every winter is a little bit different, but it's really nice to have that time to, like I said, pick a thing and just really focus on it and go for it. Yeah. And I try to take care of my people too in that time because I don't get to see, my friends and my family a whole lot in the summer. Then in the winter it's like, okay, can I cook for you? Can I help out?
Yeah, that's
I visit your kids.
Yeah, nice. I would think it's a little tough for you personally though, because your busy season is also the nicest time to be out doing things yourself, right? And yet you're so busy, so that's like the conflict there. But at the same time, I can appreciate, that widespread, like you're talking about, where you're going to have almost like a quiet season to pursue your personal development. And I would think that if I were a photographer in that circumstance, I think I would do things like look at the house sitters kind of sites where, like there's House Sitters International, where you can find homes that need house sitters around the world where you can go and stay for free, in exchange for house sitting. So that would be like a way to travel inexpensively. You like to learn. So there are conferences. There are a lot more conferences in the fall and winter where these high-level people need photographers. And so we know of one, for instance, what's his name? All of a sudden, Rochelle was working for him.
Michael Gebbins?
Yeah, Michael Gebbins started out volunteering to be a photographer for high-level conferences, like for Yannick Silver, for Tony Robbins, for free. And by offering to photograph the event for free, he got to be in the event, got to learn from the event, and make connections with the people at the same time. So it's like another, and by making those associations, it got him so much more work than he ever would have had if he hadn't done that, as well as connections with really high level people. So it seems like there are a lot of, you've got some things like you say you do, like you're going back to school, and it would seem like that there are so many opportunities. It's just a matter of exploring different ones each year.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds really smart. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So do you, as a learner, you mentioned that you're taking courses or reading books or whatever. So are there any courses you're taking recently or books you're learning from that you'd like to share?
Good question. I'm empowering through Tools of Titans for probably the 3rd or 4th time now.
Wow, congratulations.
I don't think I'll ever get over him. It's just such a gold mine book that I really love reading back to over and over again. I did a class, I guess this is a couple years ago now, with Scott Oldford, who Devani knows as well. Mm-hmm. At the time, it was just, I think, called like a Facebook ads class. And he, at the time that he was teaching it, and that was like a 12-week program, learning how to kind of market yourself online, which was really interesting, and I learned a lot through that. Just trying to think now what I've been doing. Where I took this winter and went to Italy, it's been a little bit more, just kind of doing online classes here and there, signing up for a few different little programs, but nothing real big and overarching, I would say.
Right.
Just self-learning. The traveling is a big one in of itself, right? Going to a lot of art galleries, a lot of museums, learning Italian.
Yeah, wow. Fantastic. Well, it sounds like you have it so much together. Are there any areas that you struggle with currently and could use help with or working to improve?
That's a good question. Definitely. I definitely struggle with finding balance between work and life, especially this time of year when it is really busy and you're looking ahead and you're knowing that it's going to slow down, but it's still hard kind of in the in-between, right? When you're just trying to power through, but a little bit overworked probably, and your mental health starts to suffer, and this is the point where you can kind of fall into a pit.
Yeah.
You know, I get anxious, I get a little bit depressed. It becomes this sort of just pit where it's hard to be creative, and it's hard to, you know, find the inspiration to get up and do good work all the time. But you have to, of course, and you find it within you. But it's very draining. So that's definitely one area where I struggle, is just finding the balance between taking enough time for myself while making sure everything gets done that needs to be done.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Do you have any self-care tips that you implement either daily or weekly or every couple weeks, whatever it is for you, that just keeps you, you know, taking care of yourself while you're hammering out the 4 months of intense schedule?
Yeah, it keeps you safe.
Really small but really helpful this year was I started getting my groceries delivered to my house.
Yeah.
So I started getting a grocery box with like the pre-planned meals in them with the ingredients. And it's been a lifesaver because I'm not a good cook, and I hate planning. I hate grocery shopping. Like, I just despise everything that comes with it. So to know that once a week I get everything delivered so I can take care of myself and make like healthy vegetarian meals has been like, oh, it's just a dream. Like, it feels so luxurious to like open it up every week and be like, oh, I'm going to eat good.
Nice. Well, you know, but that is a huge thing. So that's a great tip, because a lot of times, just like it's all the little things stacked together that can overwhelm us, similarly, it's all the little things, positive things stacked together that can really make a difference.
Yeah. And one more thing is sorry about it, but getting away. So I find if I'm in my house, I have a home office, it's hard to take time away and to actually step away from the computer, because there's always one more thing you can be doing. So every 6 weeks or so, I just plan a really short getaway, you know, out of town for a night or two, whether it's like visiting my parents back home or booking like an Airbnb somewhere just outside the city. Has been really useful just to kind of reset, right? You turn your phone off, you leave your computer at home, and, you know, I'll just bring my camera for personal use instead of work use, and just kind of shut my brain off in a place where I don't feel compelled to find the keyboard.
Yeah, that's
really good for just that reset. I should probably do it more often than like 8 weeks, but
no, that's fantastic. Yeah, and it's so inspiring that you have so much perspective, self-awareness, and wisdom at such a young age. So definitely, there will be no stopping you. You will definitely continue succeeding and excelling, because you've got it together. And, you know, like you said, those periods of imbalance, that's normal. Being aware of it and then doing something about it is where it's all about, what it's all about.
Well, thanks, Laura. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Do you, with the success you've had, and, you know, you've, you know, worked your 10,000 hours to becoming the expert in your field and all that, are you planning to teach photography, do any courses on it? Have you already done some of that? Is that of interest to you at all, or are you more just like, no, I'd rather do my own thing and not pursue that?
Yes. I want to do it. I have been dabbling in it. I know I really want to take off big time in the next couple of years. I would love to teach full time. I would love for that just to be like my sole project. I have such a hard thing, and especially like my thing is, you know, empowering other women to become small business owners and to create their own income, whether it's a full income or something they can do on the side with small children. I just think it's so important to pass on skills if you have them and you have the ability to teach. You know, I think it's kind of just goodwill and good karma, right, to pass that on. And I really, really enjoy it. I love getting up in front of a small group and just chatting and sharing what I know in whatever way that I can. I don't think I have it all together by any stretch. I mean, there are people who are better than me probably, but for sure there are people who are better than me who probably could teach better than me. But it doesn't mean that I don't have something to share either, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's kind of battling the anxiety of, oh, I'm not good enough, there are people who are better, but also, hey, I have something to give to the world. I've really got a passion, I really want to give it, so I need to work past that insecurity to get to that point where I can really take it to the next level and teach more. So last year I taught about 100 people, I think.
Awesome.
I think it was 7 or 8 small group class settings, which was really nice. My goal for next year is to teach 500.
So, yeah, fantastic. And are you teaching those primarily then in person? You mentioned get up in front of them, or online, or both?
Currently, it's just in person, but I definitely want to take it online in the near future.
Yeah.
So getting to 500 needs to be online. There's no way I can sustain
Yeah.
it.
Definitely. Well, we'll include some links and share with you. I don't remember right offhand the name, but there's a couple things. One is one of our podcast mentors and favorite podcasters is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and and so John's big thing is, he talks about the imposter syndrome. Other people talk about that as well, and that we all have that to some extent. Feel like we don't know enough because we know who we are. We know we're not like perfect. We don't know everything. We have questions. We have doubts. We have struggles, and so therefore we think that who are we to think that we could teach somebody else? And yet the reality is there's always someone ahead of us, and there's always someone who's behind where we are currently, whom we can help. And in fact, it's part of if we're driven or drawn to teaching at all, then it becomes, like you said, almost like a duty or a responsibility to share that, to empower others. But so that's the one thing that addressed your imposter syndrome concept that we can all relate to. And by the way, John is, he has achieved a high level of success. And he says basically that never goes away. There's always going to be that sense of, there's still more that we can do to be better. But the other side, let's see, what was I going to say? There is one of his podcasts included an interview, it was either him or Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income, that included an interview with a lady who specialized, or a team. It was, I think, a guy and a lady partnership specialized in infant photography. And their site was and they taught courses on it. Another one was teaching courses on food photography. And she has an incredibly successful blog. And all of her food photography is just from her iPhone. And she actually teaches a course about that. So there's definitely a lot that you can do. And we will link to those podcasts as well as share those with you when we can pull up the links and remember who they are. But yeah, that's online there's definitely a big market for that. And even, Creative Live is a great resource for.
Yeah, I was actually, I went to a Creative Live class once in person. Yeah.
Oh, wow. But was that was Chase Jarvis there in person in New York? Where was it?
He wasn't there at the time. No, it was a Sue Bryce class.
Okay, fantastic.
So you'll be teaching on Creative Live one of these days soon.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right. And your own course as well.
Yeah.
Well, in closing, do you have any final advice for people who are interested in pursuing their own thing or doing better at what they're already pursuing?
I think really just if you're passionate about something, if you're real nerdy into something, if you're really obsessive about something, tap into that, because whatever you're really passionate about is what you can become really good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if there's a market for that, you can become the expert if you were just a super nerd in it.
Yeah, that's great advice, because that's, in fact, we talk about that with there are some creatives that follow in our audience, and they talk about their goal. We're having a 100-day creators challenge where, every day the commitment is to create something, but first set the goal of what it is we want to accomplish during those 100 days. And typically what happens is people end up kind of shifting their goals, because just the process of identifying a singular goal, a singular bigger goal, and then implementing smaller goals along the way to achieve that bigger goal helps people define and refine what that goal actually is. Yeah. And so the people that end up struggling a lot of times it is that maybe they're not as passionate about that thing after all. Because if we have a hard time doing the art that we think we want to do, then and we're not getting to it, we're procrastinating. So then the question is, what is it we're doing when we're procrastinating? Mm-hmm. Because whatever we're doing when we're procrastinating, that might be the thing that, like you were saying, that we should look at pursuing. Even if it's social media, then maybe that tells us that we love people and we're an extrovert and we want to engage with people, in which case you can become a social media expert and manage other people's social media, that kind of thing. Or you can become an influencer, a brand influencer, and grow an audience. So there are a lot of different opportunities. Just being aware of that is really important.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
Well, before we say goodbye, where is the best place that people can connect with you and your work and see your incredible photos?
I'm most active on Instagram, which is just instagram.com/AlexStead. I'm also at alexsteadphotos.com, where I blog and post there. and on Facebook, just Stead Photography.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Well, we're going to have links for that for all you guys to check out, and definitely check out her photos. They're incredible. You will want to go to her area of Canada because they're beautiful. And it was so awesome talking with you. You're such an inspiring person.
Yes.
Oh, you too. I'm so glad you guys have me. This is awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
Thanks, Alex. Bye.
All right. See you guys. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks so much for joining us for the I Create Daily podcast. Please let us know what creatives you would like us to interview and what topics you would be interested in hearing more about.
And if you enjoyed this show, please leave a review on iTunes. We value your feedback. We read all the reviews, and it just helps us get the word out on the I Create Daily podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.